contribute. So what I'll share with you is what we have been seeing over the last probably a year or so. There's been enough evidence now in terms of AI and generative AI and whether AI solving problems and getting a medical degree or writing a song that won an award. There's enough evidence that this is real. And my first probably few months has been about that, to explain to people that there is something real about this and all the skepticism and all. My next probably 12 months has been about how to really get value out of it. And when I mean value, it's about how do you really use that to solve a problem for Canadians, for organizations, for people. And I'm hoping that my next 18 months will be to really try to make this pervasive. And this becomes part of everything we do. This becomes part of the fabric of everything we do going forward. At Accenture, we have been doing research every year. We go and talk to about thousands of executives globally. We call it the technology vision. And we have been fairly accurate in terms of predicting what the next 3 to 5 years could look like. And this year, we went and talked to a number of leaders who have been kind of starting to play around with AI and data and kind of the new realm of generative AI. And it's interesting that 95% of them actually said, it's important that you are going to bring the human and machine together. And how you can make technology more human is going to differentiate between organizations, between societies and culture, and how you're going to be more effective than others. And those who have been following kind of the curves here, I'm sure you have seen how every generation of technology evolution has kind of gone through this, like just cloud computing becoming a $1 trillion business. We believe that generative AI and AI over the next 3 to 4 years will be a $140 billion business globally, which means a lot of opportunity for all of us, for all of you, for all of us who are passionate about this. So there's definite hope and there's definite proof point around this is something that we should be paying our attention to. Yet, we have all seen in the past, there's always questions. There's always questions around skepticism, around risk, around whether this is going to stay forever, whether this is causing more harm than others, whether it's from the days of the printing press to when electricity came, or from when the telephone was discovered, and then internet, whether this is going to make us intelligent or not. However, if you follow what has happened in the last 100 years or so, our digital economy has grown 2.5 times more than our GDP. Our global life expectancy over the last 100+ years has improved significantly because of the use of technology, and our literacy rate as well. And if you have been following how the evolution of AI has been over the last probably 50 years, we know that in 2016, we were able to surpass human capabilities in language understanding and handwriting, and that was like 2016, 2017. In 2022, we have even taken it further around understanding text, images. And now, obviously, we are at an inflection point where this is going to be further more human-like. What does that mean? What does that mean in terms of where does it bring us back to? I call it the human plus machine kind of cycle. It has largely been in the past a cycle of where technology influences human. And then if you complement that with how human kind of now influences technology, that's where we are seeing a new potential of the human plus machine going forward. Bringing you back to the technology vision that I talked about, we do the research every year, and we saw largely 4 trends. I'm going to talk about each of them, and if you have any questions, we'll talk about that later. But the first one being, knowledge is changing. How we are going to manage knowledge, whether it's an organization, whether it's for a country, whether it's for each of us, we're going to have different ways of accessing, leveraging knowledge. We all know that search, to some extent, is not being used as much. We all need synthesized information. Example, Toyota, for example, is now including generative AI-based information within the car, where you can have a voice-based human interaction asking why my engine light is on, how should I set up a Bluetooth connection, and that's all happening on board with the use of speech, generative AI, and capabilities that includes all of that. We've also seen that platforms like Writer, which is a content management platform, they are coming up with AI-based fact check. So you can have a real-time fact check of an information. You can try that now on me, and see how we are kind of trying to find information in a much more time-sensitive, real-time manner, and knowledge and access to knowledge is going to change. So the AI and how knowledge and AI is coming together is going to be a very different match going forward. This is one of my favorites, and you probably have heard a lot of this in the last few months. I mean, our technology vision usually comes out towards the beginning of the year, and the reason why I call it quite accurate and forward-thinking is that we predicted that the direction of this is going to be towards an agentic architecture, and how agents are going to become more important. Whether it's an agent that does your homework, I mean, my 13-year-old daughter will be very happy about it, or for an organization, if it's an agent that does their financial accounting, or for underwriting, or for any of the other industries that we are surrounded by in Canada, the world of agents is going to become important, and they're all going to have AI and generative AI capabilities. There will be a time when our success and our capabilities will be defined by the agents that we have, along with all the macroeconomic parameters that we usually measure, financial and all that. Agents will be connecting to agents, and they will be talking to each other, and to some extent making decisions that we have allowed them to make. We have all seen the wave of AR, VR, and meta space, and I think we have various degrees of what worked and what didn't work for us in that world. But that space is also changing. One of the museums in Paris is using Snapchat-based AI visualization, where you can actually see the museum just from a Snapchat-based interface and completely interact as if you are right there. So everything that we have seen, all the virtualization and the AR, VR capabilities is now getting embedded with insights from generative AI. So that world is also going to change. So whether you're working on any of those capabilities around virtualization and visualization, think of how do you include AI into that, and what does it mean? That example of the Snapchat-based visualization is a great one. So this space is also going to change, where you're going to have a very different kind of space which is embedded and influenced by AI. One of the interesting things I learned recently is that human beings generate about 1.7 megabytes of data every second. So that translates to about 147 gigabytes a day, 54 terabytes a year. So we are a machine that creates like huge amount of data. And if you are going to mine and use that information, that's a significant amount of intelligence that anyone can gather. And that's what a lot of organizations are doing. L'Oreal, for example, is using neurotech to understand how people react to different fragrances, different perfumes, and then from there kind of customize what might be the best choice of perfume for you. You can see here the Ray-Ban and the Meta collaboration. That's a simple concept of taking a Ray-Ban frame and embedding some chips with AI capabilities in it. I got one of them, and it's really cool. And you can use that while you're walking, while you're out for a bike ride, listen to music. So bringing all of that senses to you, along with the capabilities of Meta AI, where you can ask questions and get an answer, where's the next Starbucks when I'm biking, that's extremely powerful, where your kind of bodies are becoming more electronic. This is a little dated. By now, we have completed probably 1,000+ projects globally within Accenture, and just gives a view of all the different kinds of industries. And it's only to tell you that this is relevant for every single industry that we have. We believe that AI and generative AI has an influence and has a role to play in every single thing that we do. That brings us back to how do we start? Where do we start? What do we do about it? And as I was kind of mentioning earlier, is that it's important that we lead with value. We lead with value in everything that we do, understand the problem we are trying to solve. Yes, we'll be building an app, we'll be building a widget, we'll build some great models and some great algorithms, and then thinking about where does it come to and solving what kind of a problem. It's important that we build a digital core, which will be the foundation of what you're going to build on top of, on any of the capabilities that you're working on. And then how do you close the responsible AI gap? I cannot stress enough of how this is extremely important as you start thinking about what does the implications of this to people, to societies, to organizations, and what are we going to leave behind as a legacy for our next generation if we are not setting this up as a foundation based on a strong sense of commitment and what we believe is the right thing to do. And then all of us here is just kind of the point of how talent and transforming talent is important. And we cannot achieve what we are hoping we will achieve in the next 5 years without this room and all of us really coming together and solving some of the biggest and the most difficult problems in the world. And we took an example, and this is just to show you and make it a point. We took an example in one of the consumer product goods, and there were 100 people who were doing work across their finance, accounting, marketing, and a number of different functions. Once we start breaking down the types of tasks and work they do, we have seen that at least 30 to 35% of that can be either automated or augmented. What that means is that you are now creating a very different kind of a workforce who's going to do very different kind of work, and you are going to now have to think of how you're managing that talent. There probably will be different types of work. They're going to learn different kinds of things. They're going to solve different kinds of problems. That is where we are going to go next. Every single work you do, take from kind of your world, write down the tasks you do from your kind of day in a life, 30 to 35% of that can be influenced by any of the technologies that are around us. And that brings us to human plus machine, and we have a number of examples and proof from whether it's the flow, where they're trying to do something with knowledge management or risk management. It has been interesting that in the past we have built tools, and then it's coming back to the tools kind of shaping us. So I want to kind of leave you with one thing. The information age is largely over. We're now in a world where human and technology will go hand in hand. And it's earlier, like human used to learn technology, like we used to learn the next app and the next programming language and the next evolution in platforms and so on. It's interesting, the last couple of years, technology is learning how humans talk, how they feel, how they sense, how they try to react, how they interact. That's the most interesting thing. And when we can make those things work together, I truly believe that the next few years and the next evolution is where we have a human plus future. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to all of you. Some of my colleagues are here outside. We're doing some amazing work. Please stop by and learn what we are doing at Accenture, and I'd love to talk to some of you as we go through the day. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Krish. We have some time for questions. So once again, I would invite the folks in the room to come on up and ask your question. Welcome.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for our wonderful talk. I'm Belinda. We currently study at the Masters of Health Informatics at University of Toronto. I had a question about the sustainability side, not just in climate, but like how AI will stay within our workflows and systems. So can you speak on what current infrastructure there is to promote sustainability?
It's a little difficult to hear because of the echo here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So I wanted to ask if you can speak on the sustainability of AI models. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, great point. And I think there's a lot of work that needs to happen on that. Like we are just realizing that what we have built obviously needs a responsible way of looking at it, not just from a program or a code perspective, but what it does to the environment. Like any of these models and the compute and everything that goes behind is not insignificant. And it's public information. If you can go and take a look at it, JP Morgan released a report around what kind of carbon emission happens from any of the models that we have been using. But that's where I think we have the responsibility to make sure that we are using models and anything that consumes compute and energy and all that in a way that's properly kind of designed. Like at Accenture, for example, we build for something like this. We built something called a switchboard, which essentially does the routing of what kind of a problem we're going to solve with which models. So if you have the simplest problem, if you have the most complex model solve that, obviously you are not using those resources in the best way and the optimal way. So yes, there is an environmental component of this that we need to address, and there are different kinds of research happening. But what we can all do is to make sure that as we are working through this, we are using it in a way that properly calibrated. And that's what we are doing, because we are working with thousands of these engagements and projects, and it's important for us to understand if we are going to use it the right way, that it should be less impactful going forward. I'm not going to say that it's going to be completely zero, but what you can do to reduce the impact is our intent.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, Krish, thank you so much for your presentation, and I feel really inspiring because you point out a lot of potentials of AI. So I'm wondering, what do you think is the turning point of people and also the companies to adopt the AI? As you mentioned in the slides that there are multiple jobs that could be changed because of AI, such as the sales representatives. So what do you think affects and what could be the turning point of that?
I think the turning point is for all of us, first of all, to be in a room like this talking about it. And as we go and start talking to more people about this, there's a lot of adoption and talent that needs to happen as we start working through this. The Canadian government has obviously announced investment in the space of compute and how to help with talent. Like that is also a step towards how we are making this more available, commonly available to people who may not have traditionally kind of been accessing AI. So that's one thing, like how we can do it more kind of systematically through organizations to the government. I think the other thing is that we need to kind of start thinking about that this will become pervasive going forward. And my hope is that in the next 18 months, and I dare say this in this room, is that we don't talk about generative AI as such, as we don't talk about internet anymore, because it's just part of everything we do. And that's how it should become. But there's a lot of work that needs to happen from what organizations like ourselves, like Vector Institute, like the government, like all of us who are passionate about this topic can spread the word, make sure that people and their inhibitions and their restrictions about this are addressed. So it's really about talent and adoption. Technology is usually the simpler problem to solve.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi.
First of all, thank you for the wonderful presentation. I am Pratham. I am a student in University of World, studying my master's in data science. In your slides, I saw a photo of a device called AI pen. Probably most of the people know what it is. I just wanted to know your thoughts about the device.
Sorry, I missed that one. From here, there's a bit of echo, so.
Sorry. There was a photo of a device called AI pen in your slides.
AI?
Pen. AI pen.
Okay.
I just wanted to know your thoughts about the device. It is like a phone which is tucked to your shirt, but it costs.
Can you come up here? I cannot hear. Yeah. I'll let the team know what your question is. What's your question?
There was a device called AI pen on the slides.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know your thoughts about the device. It costs $700, so it is targeting a niche market. But it replaces most of the phones.
Okay. So you're talking about a picture that we had and a device that, I can go back to that page, but essentially I can answer your question in general, but like a lot of these are niche at this point. Like think about anything that we are using commonly nowadays at some point was niche. So the hope is that this will start getting more and more democratized as we go forward. And it will take time. It will take time in terms of how it's adopted. And some of them may or may not survive. Some of them may remain niche and probably will never get the light of being more democratized. But that's how I look at it, that at some point this has to kind of go more from research to kind of a great idea to how we are actually now applying that to solving a problem for people, community, and society. So that specific one, I probably cannot comment on that because obviously you know the cost of it, but in general, from my experience, there is a cycle of how these things go through. Some of them will fall through the crack and will never probably see mainstream activation, but some of them will become more common. Like iPhone, for example, when it was launched at one point, it was a very niche product, or any other smartphone for that matter.
It is a game changer.
Yes, agreed. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.